Hello, my fellow comic book collectors. This is going to be another in my series of controversial comics, and this one is probably going to be the most extreme of the ones that have some controversy around it. This one is about a Disney parody, and I use that very loosely because this is this is one of those cases where it's a pretty extreme parody. And I'll show you the comic in question. It is this one, Air Pirates Funnies. Now, this comic is basically parodying Air Pirates, which was a comic actually created by Disney back in the 30s, I believe. And it uses a very similar look, but makes a few minor modifications to it. If you notice in the back here, if you can see it, it says dope. So basically Mickey Mouse is smuggling drugs in this controversial comic, and inside the controversial comic is very adult orientated stories. So they have like Tortoise and the Hare, and they have Mickey and Minnie Mouse having sex, and a whole bunch of interesting things happen inside of this comic. Now, there was actually 2 issues of the comic. The second issue, you can see it right here, is like Mickey and Minnie getting held up by gunpoint and by a man carrying drugs. So this was kind of one of those things where very controversial in the respect that it's an adult-orientated comic that targeted Disney characters. Now, that was bad. So to make it worse, the one of the people involved, there was actually 3 people involved. He wanted this controversy. He actually wanted to really kind of react against what Disney was doing and the control that Disney had. And what he even did, he wanted to get sued by Disney. So he kind of took some copies of this comic that he created, and he gave it to one of the sons of one of the board members of Disney. And he made sure that they brought those comics into the board meeting. And of course, when they saw these crazy comics, they sued. And the man's name is O'Neill. And his goal was to basically, I don't know, create some interest, create some controversy, and really talk about how parody and satire should be protected as freedom of speech. And it was a mess. It was one of those lawsuits that was just a mess. The first time that it actually went to court, O'Neill lost. He just completely lost. Disney brought on its full force and basically sued him out of existence, right? That's how Disney operates. It doesn't mess around. And he lost the first case, but he did an appeal. And, as a small-time publisher, it was actually Last Gasp that produced these comics. He basically had to come up with a way to fund his court cases. And so what O'Neill did is he got all these other artists to support him, and they would sell original art. And the original art that they would create was of Disney characters. So what they did is they literally created like original art with like Mickey Mouse or Donald Duck or some character from Disney, and they would sell that original art to raise money so that they could win this lawsuit from Disney. So the irony there was amazing. So this case went on for years. It went on from 1972, I believe, until 1980, where there was a loss and then appeal, then a loss and appeal, and it basically, resulted in Disney basically saying, okay, if you stop what you're doing, we will not have you go to jail, basically, because there was about $2 million worth of legal fees that Disney had to pay from all these lawsuits that they were filing. And they sued for another $200,000 worth of damages against O'Neill. And that, what they did was basically said, okay, if you stop, cease and desist. They basically settled, saying that if you stop, we will not, collect this judgment. And that's how the case ended. So basically, they sued them out of existence, but at the same time, there was no benefit that was reaped from this, and it was a huge cost to Disney. So this is during the 70s and 80s. $2 million was pretty big money back then. So it's one of those controversial comics. I recommend that if you can pick it up. It's pretty pricey book, actually, because of the fact that it does have this history around it, and it was pretty small in terms of the publication, that there wasn't that many copies produced, and it's kind of one of those interesting stories. It's pretty rare comic, and it's kind of interesting. So I'm not sure what your opinions of these controversial comics are, but I'd love to hear your feedback. And do you think it's cool to buy controversial comics, or do you avoid the controversy, or what's your opinion on it? So I'd love to hear your feedback. Please leave a comment below, and check out my next controversial comic video, which will be in the next few days. So thank you for watching. Bye.